Greetings, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade, J52, and I am joined by my merry band of misfit cohorts. We have, immediately to my character's right, everyone's favorite RP hologram,
Hello.
Artie. And directly to my character's left, we have everyone's favorite teacher of the Kirby variety.
Hello.
Who could have at least dressed up for coming to the bridge.
I'm wearing a uniform.
Yeah, but this is the party.
Yeah, it's also a basic uniform. But, and we also have a fly on the wall for this episode, a Timberwolf in the channel with us.
Don't mind me, I'm just listening. That's all I'm doing.
But anyways, folks, we're starting a little bit late. We were concerned that some of us were going to get blown to the land of Oz, me specifically, and also Kirby. But anyways, we do have some stuff to get going for you guys this evening. So let's go ahead and get started. And for our console players, we have the Week 2 rewards for Scylla and Charybdis. Everything this week is, I think this was the Warp Core, if I'm not, no, that's not the Warp Core. I think this was, what piece is it?
Wasn't it the deflector?
Deflector. Yep.
The deflector. Yep.
Yep.
So, you guys will get the deflector to the Bajoran set to go along with your shield and everything else. It's actually a pretty good set and everything. You know, myself and Timberwolf did a intel report on this, and we have also previewed it here on the show as well. Last time we aired, but yeah, thoughts from you guys?
Well, I'll just basically repeat myself from last time we talked about it. It's a great set. The deflector itself, I feel like, gives a whole lot more bonuses than I would expect from a basically a free deflector.
Yeah, that's true. And the 2-piece set bonus, which you would now be eligible for, would or be able to have if you slot both pieces, gives you increase to phaser, disruptor, and plasma damage. So, very nice to have as well.
Indeed. But, anyways, that's what we have for this particular thing. The other thing we will mention is you can now get another one of the featured episode weekly reward boxes. And in this box you have either a enhanced universal tech upgrade or a captain's specialization point. It is your choice of whichever one you get. It is bound to the character that opens it, but the box itself is bound to account. We highly recommend getting the specialization point, because that's a lot less grinding you will have to do. But, anyways, we will have this little blog in the notes for you guys. But, moving along, we have a Dill weekend for the consoles.
Yes, this is for the consoles. We know that it was announced for PC. That was a mistake. The Dill weekend, running from March 15th to March 19th, is for console only. And you do get, during this event, you get double dilithium ore for the daily mining missions, and double dilithium ore for all rich mining claims. And the fleet dilithium mine also gives double dilithium ore for the daily missions. Everywhere else in the game you get time and a half or a 50% bonus on dilithium ore. So if you're supposed to get 1,000 for something, you would then get 1,500 as an example. And dilithium rewards from completing event reputation projects no longer receive this bonus. And it does not affect the rewards from the Endeavor system either. Okay? So, but now is a good time to go out and get that extra dilithium you've been wanting. Go to the Dyson Ground Battle Zone, or wherever your favorite place to grind for dilithium is, and have some fun.
Yep. I was actually going to say the Dyson Ground Zone
Yes.
myself. It's actually, at least for PC, I don't know how it is on console and everything, but on PC, you take about 20 minutes a character, if that long, if you get a really good zone. You tag at least 2 of the dinos, and you're going to get a pretty healthy chunk of dill.
It's a boss man.
It is. A wild boss man has appeared. And I heard an echo.
That might have been one of us. Yeah.
And his mic is muted.
But yes, definitely now is a good time for all you console players to go out and get that extra dilithium.
But, yeah, definitely do that. It's a good chance. It's also a good chance to burn some of those mining claims that some of you have probably been holding on as well. Or on to
Right.
words. But, anyways, moving along, we have our PC patch notes for the 15th.
Yep. These aren't that much. They're not very long patch notes. What we have here. We'll just start from the top. For general, resolved an issue which was causing the camera to zoom in too far with contact dialog windows. Now you're not looking up someone's nose when they're trying to talk to you.
No more booger mining.
No more digging for that gold.
Yeah.
Added competitive marks to a few all mark boxes that were missing after the first pass of this edition. Right, that's good, because those are some pretty tough ones to get.
Yeah, it is, and I'm hoping that this means, cross my fingers, that this means that now competitive marks are added to all of the all marks choice boxes.
Yeah, sort
I'm
of.
hoping.
I feel like it's going to take up like how the fleet marks are. They're in everything at this point.
Yeah. Well, because this isn't entirely clear on that. Because it doesn't say to all remaining, it says to a few.
Right.
So does that mean they're deliberately leaving some out? Or are they now in all of them? You know what I mean?
We'll have to definitely double check on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is the mission briefing contact on the event version of the breach now goes away after the briefing stage of the mission ends. Alright, that's good.
Yay!
Lethean Allied Pilot Escort Bundle added all standard patterns to the Lethean material. Alright. And added weekend events to April. Oh, the calendar's been updated then.
Yay!
I see things that's on the calendar, right?
Yeah. Oh, hey, boss.
And he's got it fixed.
Yay!
Oh, yeah. See, I was on my Mac and I haven't plugged. I didn't have my headphones plugged in, so that's what happened.
Alright.
Yeah. Mic sounds a little distorted, but otherwise we can understand.
All right.
pretty
That's
good.
Where
probably
were we?
because I'm on cell phone, so.
Sorry. Yes,
that
it
explains
does.
a lot. Yeah.
Let's see. Moving on. Systems resolved an issue that was preventing the TR-116B from being able to acquire crafted modifiers when crafted. Ow.
Meaning you couldn't get pen or run or
It was basically
any
a
of
blank
those modifiers. Yeah.
TR. Ooh. Scary.
Well, not necessarily
Ouch.
blank. Just it couldn't get the crafted ones.
Right.
So you only got accuracy, damage, crit H, or crit D. That kind of stuff.
Right. Resolved an issue that caused the prolonged engagement cannons to deal less damage when intended when using cannon rapid fire. Ooh. And last one, resolved an issue that could cause some deflector dishes to be attained with an incorrect set of modifiers. Oh, that sounds like a good fix there, yeah. I would hate to buy a deflector dish and find
Interesting.
out it has all the wrong mods. and what it
I'm
says.
kind of wondering what the incorrect set of modifiers were.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah,
Now I'm gonna get a-
Imagine-
Yeah.
Could you imagine getting deflector dish with pen?
I was just totally thinking, yeah, I just got my deflector. It has 4 points into a damage bonus.
Mods.
I have crit D.
I got you one better.
Yeah, there you go.
A deflector with 4 EPG mods.
That actually, I don't know, that might be possible.
I can make use out of that.
with re-engineering.
If it's crit D or,
But,
or
you know.
crit H, you know, crit H might be fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would have been funny, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Not that we would totally throw
Oh,
this on a
of
ship.
course
and
we
use them.
would. Of course we wouldn't. Yeah, no, we wouldn't do that.
Fingers crossed. I mean,
Pay no attention to the fingers that are crossed behind my back.
Anyway. But,
That's basically
yeah, that's pretty much our patch notes and everything. Not really a lot to go over as far as that stuff goes this week. It's kind of there, but all the same, we'll have that in the notes for you guys. Like I said, there's not really a lot that went on this week. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
And I see one of our guys in chat was saying that the Endeavor mark choices got the competitive marks, at least the plus 50 boxes,
Yay!
so yeah. And no, Willow, you didn't actually miss, well, much anyway. Everything. Just basic announcements and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't worry, everything's going to be in the show notes, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
You can always catch up.
But speaking of announcements, we have a 20% costume and boost sale that was, or is going on, I
Yes.
believe, still. So, it says, some captains are cut from a different cloth. These players know that to be a respected captain, you can't just act the part. You have to look it too. This weekend, we're putting our costume packs on sale for 20% off from March the 15th to March the 19th. Fashionable captains can grab outfits that they've had their eye on. It says, show off your evil counterpart with the Mirror Universe costume pack. Trek a familiar path with the original series uniform, or prepare for your journey into Delta Rising with the 7 of 9 uniform. There are tons of different appearance options waiting for you this weekend. Grab your costumes today and make your captain look the way you've always envisioned.
Because you know,
Sexy.
when you're fighting the Borg will stop and go, ooh, ain't that a cool outfit? Giving you the chance to shoot them dead.
Yep. Because dang it, they're all pretty, pretty ladies.
I want that one.
Must assimilate.
And
clothing.
also, for our boosts and everything, the Commendation Point boost, small and large, the R&D Research XP boost, large and small, and the XP boost, the general XP boosters that is, large and small, are also on sale for 20% off.
You know, now
So,
I kind
yeah.
of want a distraction bonus when I shoot things. It wasn't looking at me.
Well, I
Can
mean-
get it? Yeah. It's like it knows I'm there, but it's like, ooh, distracted at something. Like, it's all butterfly, and I'm just able to shoot it through its eye or something.
See, I think Gornalicious would get the maximum distraction bonus if there was such a thing. I mean,
Well, I mean, there is the Seduce ability that female Orions get, so... I mean, just floating that out there.
give us a distraction bonus, Cryptic. There you go.
Well, I mean, Gornalicious did win that costume
Yes,
contest
she
a few
did.
months back, so there is
Very
that.
distracting.
She did. Yep. What is more distracting than a Gorn and a miniskirt?
Gorn in pink short shorts.
I'm gonna go with Gorn and a
I
Speedo.
have that.
Exactly.
Pink one, no less.
No.
I'm not
Bad Kirby.
surprised.
Bad.
Anyway.
Yeah, kind of set
Yes,
that up.
you
didn't I?
did.
You open the door.
But, anyways, moving along,
Yes,
we have our
moving along.
Foundry Spotlight mission.
Yes. So the Foundry is a special program in Star Trek Online that allows users to make their own episodes. And they are playable by other captains in STO. And so to access the Foundry missions, open your mission journal and select Foundry at the top. This month's Foundry Spotlight is the mission Time Will Tell by XR377. Time Will Tell is a KDF mission, so you'll have to dust off your KDFs. You will not be able to play this on a fed tune. It's a KDF mission that begins when a mysterious anomaly appears in the Kalis Expanse and takes its captains on a journey through time, space, and a plot that has its tongue firmly planted in cheek. So, we don't want to spoil too many of its twists and turns, but be sure to keep a sharp eye out as you play, especially for some of the character names. Sounds like an interesting teaser. This sounds like an interesting mission. Have either of you played it yet? Have any of you played it yet?
I have.
You
I
have?
really love it because I knew XR377 for like a while now. We haven't really caught up or anything, but I've known him before he started up the Foundry stuff, and every time he comes out with something, it's always one of the best. And I'm just happy that we're actually getting more EDF-only Foundry missions now. You know? It's always Federation, and then the Klingons have a alternate version of it, but now we have a Klingon-specific, and it's great.
Yeah.
As for this one specific, I would have to say it's one of the top-notch ones.
Awesome.
And no, I'm not going to give any spoilers. I've
Yeah.
allowed that one. So
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, definitely check that mission out. We will have a link in the notes for you guys so you can check out the blog that will give you the mission name and all of that stuff that you'll need, such as the ID. But yeah, that's pretty much our articles for this evening. But moving right along, we have our budget build. And this week we actually had a budget request for a Tier 6 Fleet Pathfinder. Try saying that 10 times fast. But for this particular ship, we actually went with a modified version of our mid-range builds. This particular mid-range build, we assume a maximum EC spending limit of 20 million EC. And the end user here in this case wanted an EPG style build, so more of a sciencey type ship. But for those of you that actually like science ships and everything, fans of Voyager, you will appreciate this particular ship because this is the Tier 6 Intrepid. Everything. This particular ship is a 3-3 weapons layout, and for our weapons up front, we have the chronometric Polaron beam array. We have a Pep Torp. And we have our advanced Thoron infused Polaron beam array. It comes from the Delta reputation. Now the chronometric beam, what is so good about that is it basically allows you to bust through their shields a lot faster. And I'll actually pull this up really quickly. And what in the world am I looking at on my screen here?
No idea.
Yeah. So, if y'all can see the dancing and everything, that's the first thing that I saw whenever I pulled the game back up.
Well,
I've been just sitting here dying.
Artie said it was a party. Since I didn't dress for it, I figured, you know, I could dance. I can dance if I wanna. No?
Yeah,
Okay.
not going there. But, anyways, for the chronometric Polaron beam array, it gives plus 15% shield pin whenever it procs, which is a very nice thing to have. That's going to let you bust down their shields a heck of a lot quicker. But then in the rear, we also have the chronometric polaron beam array. We have the neutronic torpedo, and we also have a Dominion polaron beam array. And the Dominion beam comes from the Boldly They Rode mission, so you're going to be hearing Kurland here quite a bit. Actually, several of these pieces come from that mission. So you're going to be hearing that quite a bit and everything and whatnot. So, not that we would slightly pick at Vorticus or anything. But, okay, maybe a little. But anyways, as far as our engines, deflector, that stuff goes, this particular ship does carry a secondary deflector and everything. Now for our shields, engines, and deflector, we went with the Jem'Hadar set. Since the ship is based originally in Polaron damage, this will give a bit of a boost to our Polaron weaponry. The Jem'Hadar set is very great at negating damage up front as well, so the end user is going to have a bit of fun with that particular set. That's going to grant a bit more survival than some of the other sets out there might, and also boost their damage a little bit with their weapons. Now, since this particular set does not come with a warp core, we have to source one out. And the warp core that we've used here is one you've seen us use time and again here on the show. This is the Temporal Phase Overcharged Warp Core. This comes from the Butterfly mission. And if you were here for the Delta recruitment event some years ago now, you're familiar with a little device known as the Temporal Negotiator. The Temporal Negotiator would cut bridge officer cooldowns in half for the duration that the device was active, and this warp core essentially gives you the same thing in the form of its capacitor. So having that on a ship like this is going to be a pretty big deal, and allow you some extra cooldown reduction in a pinch when you need it. And since this particular ship carries a secondary deflector, and since this is a mid-range build, we went with a strategic inhibiting deflector from the Crown Science Lab as one that's easy to get a hold of. Now, the ideal mods you're going to want to shoot for are Crit X, Defense, EPG, and SA plus damage. So, and then once it upgrades to Epic and everything, I didn't really program that into the builder because it's not a guarantee of, you know, what you're going to get and all that other stuff, but anyways, that's the item we took to Epic this go around, and it's kind of late as we're doing this, obviously, for the YouTube people later on, so I'm slightly loopy from lack of caffeine, but anyways, that's what we have for our weapons, our engines, deflector, and all of that fun stuff. Now for our devices, there are 3 slots in this instance that the ship can use. We normally prefer to think of them as personal preference, however there are a couple of devices that I did slot in this instance that you may wish to consider. One device that we typically recommend regardless of the build type is actually the Subspace Field Modulator. This is a device that pretty much anybody is going to have access to from the Skirmish mission. This gives the equivalent of a free neutronium worth of damage resistance while it's active. However, it does also debuff you for a minus 400 protonic damage resist rating while it is active. Now, there aren't that many enemies that use protonic damage, but there are enough that, in our opinion, we feel it warrants making you aware of it. And then another thing that I had slotted in this case was the exotic particle flood batteries. Since this is an EPG heavy build, I felt that putting them on the ship would be worth it in this case, because that's extra EPG that the user can call on whenever he needs it. For our engineering, science, and tactical consoles, the ship is a 353 layout. For our engineering consoles, we have the Trillium D plating from the Ragnarok mission. This will grant a bit of defensive value to the ship, and is basically a neutronium armor and a field generator console slammed into one thing. so it gives some decent defensive value in terms of resistance, and also some extra shield capacity. Then we have our Bioneural Gel Pack. This is going to round out our 3-piece set, allowing us access to the isokinetic cannon, and we'll take a look at the set bonuses in just a second and explain why we have them. Now, basically for this particular console on its own, it will give you a bit of Bridge Officer cooldown reduction, is the main draw and strength to this particular thing. Then for our last engineering console, we have the Assimilated Module. This will give us a bit of critical chance and severity, and it will also give a little bit of Control X in this case. That's not something we often slot it for, but since we are going for EPG and science-based powers, that's a little something extra that we get from the console this time around. Now for our science consoles, we have 5 of the exotic particle focusers from our Crenum Science Lab. These are the EPG and Control X variety. And in case people are wondering why those specifically, actually I have a couple of them on me. They have a 25% chance to grant a plus 6% bonus exotic damage boost for 30 seconds, stacking up to 5 times when using any exotic damage power, and it will activate on the final tick if it's going to activate. So that's why you're going to want those particular consoles, as they can boost your EPG even further. For the tactical consoles, we have the Chronometric Capacitor. This also rounds out our Chronometric 3-piece, and we'll take a look at that set bonus in just a minute. But it essentially grants some nice buffs to Polaron, is the main reason we're going to have this.
It also has some.
Then we have
some
our Delphic
EPG
Oh, go ahead.
on it, which is why it's a standard in most exotic damage builds.
Indeed. And we also have our Delphic Tear Generator. This is going to be one of your prime consoles if you're going to run an EPG build. This gives a plus 20% exotic damage boost, so that is a pretty big boost from just a singular console. I would dare say that this console is to EPG what the Bioneural Infusion Circuits is to critical severity.
Yeah.
If I could give a comparison here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then, for our final console, we have the Constriction Anchor, mainly for the exotic boost that it gives. It is a 3% boost, I believe, if I'm remembering the exact number. So it is a percentage boost and everything, and it gives, like I said, it gives us EPG, so that's mainly why it's here. But getting into our 3 sets, these are some very potent set bonuses that you're going to be able to call into play. And they also play into the build itself, and that character dancing is very distracting. But for our chronometric bonuses, for the 2 set and everything, it's not the greatest ever, but it is still something nice. You're going to get 3.6 auxiliary power setting, and then you're going to get a plus 3.8 bonus power setting, which will increase the lower your aux power is. Now the real strength to the chronometric set is the 3-piece bonus that it gives. Whenever you activate it, it's on a 2-minute recharge for 15 seconds. You get plus 7.5% exotic damage and 7.5% energy weapon damage. So that's a pretty nice boost to have for a 3-piece. Then the second bonus that you're going to have, this is why we have the Thoron Beam, the Neutronic Torp, and our Bioneural Gel Pack here. Pull this up for you guys. So we actually have the Isokinetic Cannon. Now our 2-piece bonus is pretty straightforward. Plus 14.2% radiation damage, 20% cooldown reduction to the Neutronic Torpedo. Now our Isokinetic Cannon, this is where it can get really nasty. It's a kinetic damage type ability. It's a 1-minute recharge. That the number it's showing me right now is 5,023.2 kinetic damage, which ignores the shields, and that will get boosted with EPG. So it's a very potent power on its own, and I've seen people charge or supercharge that and very nearly
Yeah.
nuke a tactical cube with it, if not outright nuke a
Yeah.
tactical cube.
If you have enough EPG and you have the right bonuses and whatnot, yeah, it could very easily do that.
But anyways, that's our 3 set bonuses and everything. So the main reasons is we have a very powerful attack like the isokinetic cannon that we can call upon, and we also have an EPG boost that we can throw on demand, and those are pretty powerful bonuses to have. Definitely not something you're going to want to ignore. But that's what we have for our equipment on the ship. This particular kind of build is going to be focusing more towards what it can do with its science powers, not necessarily drawing all of its strength from the weapons. Now for our skill setup, it is slightly modified from normal. We have 2 points into improved hull and shield capacity. That's going to give us extra shields and extra hull. We also have a point into shield and hull restoration each for a bit of extra healing. We have 3 points into our energy weapon training. That's going to be free damage to our energy weapons. Also have 2 points into improved EPS flow. That's going to allow us to transfer our power quicker, regen it a little quicker. We also have improved, not improved, but basic impulse expertise. It's going to allow us to move the ship, turn it a little quicker, all that sort of thing. Then we have our improved control expertise and our improved drain expertise. This is going to be free control X and free drain X, boosting our polaron drains as well as the controlling abilities. Now if you wanted to, you could consider, if you have points left over, to pick up maybe control amplification. Something, if you're using a lot of control powers, could be nice. Everything. But continuing along, we have 3 points into advanced targeting expertise. That's going to offset that accuracy penalty a little bit from things such as FAW, scatter volley, and similar firing modes. We also have 3 points into advanced defensive maneuvering. That is going to make our ship harder to hit, which is going to be very, very nice on a vessel like this, since you're using a lot of zero distance powers, and we'll explain that in just a couple of minutes. Then we have 3 points into our hull platings. This is free defensive value in the form of damage resistances, just by having these slotted for your skills. We have 2 points into improved shield hardness. This is going to reduce damage that we take to the shields. We also have 3 points into weapon amplification and specialization. That is free critical chance and severity just by having these picked up. Then we have a point into offensive and defensive subsystem tuning. Since we're going to be using primarily auxiliary power for a lot of our abilities, I decided to throw a point into aux power performance to pick up just a little bit extra in that department. Then we have 3 points into advanced particle generators and also long-range sensors. The EPG goes without saying. That's going to boost our science powers and exotic-based abilities. The long-range target sensors is going to reduce the weapon drop-off penalty to where it's very, very minor, all the way out to the 10 kilometers. Then we have your choice of hull penetration or shield penetration. There is no right or wrong answer here. You can make arguments for either one. So as long as you have at least one of these, I would say you're doing pretty good in everything. Then our final point is in the warp core potential. This is going to give us free power to all subsystems just by having this on the build. Now that's what we have for our skills and everything. For our specializations, we went with temp ops for some of the various psi powers and stuff that it can give you. Plays very nice with science, I believe. Then we went with strategist to kind of balance it out and maybe give a little bit of extra survival, a little bit of extra damage, depending on whether or not you're in threatening stance. Then for our traits, this is where we ended up spending quite a bit of our cash, and then on our bridge officers, we'll see in just a minute. One of our big traits is psychological warfare. It improves the effectiveness of control abilities, which includes things such as confuse, disable, hold, knock, placate, repel, roots, and slows. So that's, I think, actually the most expensive thing that we spent EC on in terms of one purchase. Then we have our beam training, which is free damage for our beams. Elusive for free defensive value, making our ship harder to hit. Then we have the career-specific trait of Grace Under Fire. This is because the builder actually defaults to engineers. If you are not an engineering captain, but you would still like to use the build, simply swap in your own career-specific trait, and you will be doing fine. And we have Fleet Coordinator for free damage based on your party size. So between 2 to 10%, and it does count you, so this is a 2% boost at the minimum, a 10% at the most. Then, we always like to assume you've chosen one R&D crafting school to level at the very least as you're bringing your tune up. In this case, we assume Particle Manipulator, in this case from the Science School. This gives you some of your particle generator skill as crit chance on exotic damage, so that can be very nasty. Nasty in a good way, of course. Then we have Nanite Repair Matrix from the Midnight Mission. Whenever your hold drops below 50%, this will give you a heal that can happen once every 90 seconds. Then we have Projectile Training to boost our torps a little bit, since we do have 2 of them on the ship. Then finally we have Astrophysicist, which is going to give a decent little boost to our particle generators, our flow capacitors, and our sensor stats. Then for our starship traits and everything, 2 that are going to do fairly good for this build are the Ablative Field Projector, which you will have access to since you've already picked up the C-Store version of the ship. At least that's the assumption whenever we work with fleet ships. Then this particular power, whenever you heal a target with a shield healing bridge officer power, they gain temporary hit points, and the buff can stack up to 3 times. Then we have our Unconventional Tactics from our Strategist. This, whenever activating Brace for Impact, it gains a damage boost for a short period of time, in addition to the normal effects. Now for our Space Reputation traits, these are ones you're going to get for free just by leveling your space reps. Eventually, if you play the tune long enough and you keep doing your reps, everybody will have access to these. We have Aux Power Offensive. This is going to be a pretty sizable boost since we're going to be dumping a lot into our Aux Power. Then, just as a little something extra, we picked up Particle Generator Amplifier, which is going to boost our exotic damage abilities. Then we have our Advanced Targeting Systems for free critical severity with our weapons. Then we have Precision for free critical hit chance. Oh,
Bless you.
Lordy. Thank you. Sorry if I scared anybody or blew anybody's eardrums out. That's what I knew I needed to do that. I was just waiting for it to come, if you know what I mean. But, allergies are a pain this time of year, in case anybody's wondering. And especially with the weather here. First it was cold, then it was hot, and then it was rainy, and then it was snowy, and just one big giant mess. But anyways, for our active reputations, we have the Biomolecular Shield Generator. This is going to increase your shield regeneration as well as giving a little bit of a shield heal whenever you step inside it, and a damage reduction to your shields. This is the little green ball you see a lot of people using in ISA and similar maps. It has saved my rear end more than once. For a nice little "oh crap, I'm gonna die" button, I typically like to recommend the Deploy Sensor Interference platform. Now this will poof up a little sensor platform in space, and whenever you use it, The platform will taunt enemies to itself until its timer runs out or it gets destroyed, whatever happens first. I like to use this whenever my health gets low so I can duck back and heal, or if I just need to get away from certain enemies. Then we have our Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. This will cause a nice slow and physical damage effect on the targets that are within range. Then, finally, we have our Quantum Singularity Manipulation. This is going to boost all of your science stats by 100 for a short time, and it will also give a temporary cloaking effect while it is active. Now, we usually like to recommend popping your exotic damage boosts first, such as maybe the Particle Flood Battery, and things like your Chronometric 3-piece. Follow up with something like your Quantum Singularity Manipulation, crack off a Gravity Well, and some powers like that behind this, and then follow up with Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity, and you will get a lot more bang for your buck. A lot more,
especially since this is a heavy EPG build, then Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity is going to be nasty. It's going to have some big teeth behind it.
Oh, yes. And even more so than the standard builds that we recommend that combination with. I don't think it's possible for us to actually undersell
yeah.
the difference here in this case.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Difference.
But anyways, that's what we have for our traits and everything. Behind it, we spent a fair chunk of our EC here. But moving along to our bridge officers. Now for this particular ship, you have a Lieutenant Universal, a Lieutenant Tactical, Lieutenant Engineering/Intel, a Commander Science, and a Lieutenant Commander Science. So, not really a lot of tactical powers for those people that may prefer tac powers, but you've got a decent seating for this type of ship, I would say. Now for our science powers, we'll start there since they're pretty much the core of the build. For our Commander Science, we have Science Team 1. This is going to heal our shields a bit. This is also going to purge certain debuffs like subnucleonic-based effects, something that the Voth are very fond of throwing around. Then we have our Polarized Hull, which is going to give us a bit of damage resistance while it's up, as well as immunity to tractor beams, and some similar type effects. This can also get you out of a tractor beam, actually, so that's very nice. Then we have our Subspace Vortex 3, nice little AoE damage while it's going on. You can also hit it a second time to teleport yourself to wherever the vortex is at. Then we have our Gravwell 3 as our fourth power. This pretty much goes without saying. It pulls all of the enemies towards it and does some pretty nice exotic damage at the same time. For our Lieutenant Commander seat, we have a Hazard Emitters 1. This is a heal over time effect that will also grant some temporary damage resistance and also purge certain debuffs such as the Borg Plasma Fire from their torpedoes. Then we also have Transfer Shield Strength 2. This is going to heal our shields a bit in a pinch whenever it's needed. Then we also have our Destabilized Resonance Beam 2. This is a nice little AoE kick in the pants to everything within range, especially when you combo it with your Gravity Well and Vortex, and that's going to get nasty really quick. This actually comes from the Blood of the Ancients mission. Then, for our Lieutenant Tactical seat, we have a Fire at Will 1 and a Torpedo Spread 2. The Fire at Will allowing us to take advantage of the fact that we do have some beams on the ship, and our Torpedo Spread for whichever of our torpedoes we're firing off at the time. For our Lieutenant Universal, we decided to make that an engineering seat. We went with an Emergency Power to Weapons 1 and a Reverse Shield Polarity 1 in this case. The Emergency to Weapons is going to give us a nice little boost to our weapons power, as well as a damage boost to our energy weapons. The Reverse Shield Polarity will allow us to recharge our shields in a pinch, based off of incoming damage. Then for our last seat, our Lieutenant Engineering/Intel, we threw an Emergency Power to Aux as our instant ability, and then an Override Subsystem Safeties 2. This is going to allow us to boost our Aux power whenever we need to, such as if we're going for a such as if we're trying to burst with our exotic damage. And then our override subsystem safeties is going to allow us to take advantage of power that otherwise we may not normally be able to do, mainly because of things such as the 125 cap that is normally present on various ships. But
So a nice little combo there would
touch
be
base.
to use your override subsystem safeties, then use your emergency powered auxiliary, then shoot out your gravity well, your subspace vortex, your destabilizing resonance beam, and then nuke everything in there that's in that gravity well with your particle emission plasma torp, and you have to and then whatever's left, shoot at it with
Yep.
the isokinetic cannon. Because there should only be one or two things left after that.
Yep, pretty much. Gravwell them, vortex them, pop them with a pep torp, and everything, and DRB anything that's unfortunate enough to live. And then if anything is still unlucky enough to be alive, swing around and crack it with a neutronic torpedo,
Yep.
I guess. Would be another thing we could do.
Yes, most definitely.
But the ship definitely has some potential
Now,
here.
we did mention zero distance abilities. These are, yes, so
guess we
these are
did.
things like your gravity well, your subspace vortex, and your DRB. They're what we call zero distance abilities because when you shoot these off, the enemy goes, "Oh my god, they're right on top of me!" Even if you're 10 kilometers away. Doesn't matter because the hazard or the, what it is that you're shooting off, the ability you're shooting off forms right at the enemy, so it reads it as zero distance. Now, what zero distance abilities do for when it comes to the player is it grabs the threat or the aggro that the enemy, so basically it makes everything pissed off at you, which is why we put in a bit of survivability in this ship.
Yep. So you're going to want, if you're going to be using a lot of zero distance powers like this, you're going to want to make sure that you have either some survival built into the ship or a tank in the run with you that can ensure that you're not getting
Yes.
shot at. So, since we can't always count on a tank being there, we took the survival route. Now, as far as the costs go for this particular ship and everything, we ended up coming in at $15 million out of our $20 million EC budget, which is actually a lot less than I was expecting it to be, in all honesty. For dilithium, this is one of the more pricier builds that we've done. You're looking at 64,800 dilithium total. That gets you your gel pack, your thoron beam, your neutronic torp. It gets you your particle focusers and your inhibiting deflector. And that inhibiting deflector cost also assumes that you don't have a maxed out dilithium mine to discount this. So you're looking at around 9 days total build time, assuming that you only have one character refining dilithium per day and everything. So if you have the discount and if you've got more than one character, you can actually build this out a heck of a lot quicker. But that's what we have for our budget build for this evening and everything. But hopefully you guys can see what we're going for here. If you've got questions about why we picked certain pieces of gear, some of the combos to throw together, let us know, and we'll answer those questions as best as we can. But that's what we have for our budget build for the evening. As far as the bugs corner goes, I don't really have too awful much this week and everything, at least stuff that I could really talk about here. Mainly just some of the ones that I had mentioned, such as the zooming in, actually got patched, so yeah.
I did notice
But
in one of my breach runs that it's an intermittent problem, but one of my KDF tunes, when I cloaked, I was not able to bring myself out of cloak until I did an interact. So I cloaked during the trench run, And when I got to the point where we have to breach the door, I was not actually able to fire. I could not bring myself out of cloak. No matter what I did, I had to actually wait for them to do it, follow them in, and then when I got to the subcore room, there was an interact, the send out rescue party. So I did that, and that forced me out of cloak. But yeah, I wasn't able to get out of cloak until I did that.
Interesting.
I know, right?
So, yeah, if you're a KDF player and you've seen that, definitely, let me know, let them know. As long as the information gets to the devs, that's what's important. Maybe they can isolate a fix and everything, and hopefully get that patched. Because, yeah, that's
no,
not
it's
a good
not.
thing.
Definitely not.
But anyways, that's what we've got for the Bugs Corner this week and everything, as far as the major one that we can go over and everything here on the show. But and as always, guys, I do give these people a hard time about it. But if you do have any bugs, like I say, feel free to let me know. Let one of these screwballs know. They'll be sure to get it to me. I can pass it along to the devs. Also, they do have the forums you could go on to and everything. One for the PS4, one for the Xbone, one for the PC, and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. If you got videos and screenshots, that's better, because they don't like bugs any more than you or I do.
Nope.
They really don't. But anyways, that's what we have for that this week. Coming up on our next segment, we have the Teacher's Corner. What have you got for us this week?
So this week, continuing the series on fleet gear, what you can get from each fleet holding. This week's featured holding is the Research Lab. So I went over not just fleet gear you can get there. Some of it was actually featured in our budget build, like the consoles. Those came from the Fleet Research Lab, as well as the secondary deflector. But also, there are certain things you can get for your character, like +1 R&D slot, R&D project slot, or the unlocks for the 5th ship trait, 5th reputation traits, and 5th active reputation trait. All come from the Research Lab. But yeah, check it out, and there's much more to look at there. Comments? Questions?
No, I'll be honest, I totally forgot about the bonus R&D thing in the Research Lab, because it's like, I rarely go for some reason. I don't know why. It's Delta Quadrant. It's all the way over there. But it's very helpful, yeah.
It is, and it's easy to forget where it comes from, too, because once you have it, if you go to that console where it comes from, it's no longer listed there as an option. So it doesn't even, it's not like it has something that's grayed out that shows, oh, I bought it. It just completely disappears. Yeah, so it can get a little,
dicey
so
and whatnot,
you can forget very easily that, oh, this came from here. Which is why we make videos like that. So, But there you go.
Yeah, anyways, if you've had questions about the Fleet Research Lab and everything, definitely check out Teacher's video. Shows where you can get everything, some of the costs, everything associated with it as well. But we'll have a link in the notes to that for you guys. Definitely check out her video if you've had those questions. But, moving along, we have this evening the RP Corner with Artie. What have you got for us this week?
We have something a little different, talking about the Foundry and whatnot. For the viewers and everyone out there. From the holodecks of PRS, we've come out with a new testing zone for things. We've called it the PRS Federation Testing Zone 01. You can find it in the Foundry tab under Browse All, but we didn't make this as anything as, oh, you gotta be the best, this and the other. This is a test run. Basically, you can throw in whatever builds you've made that go against different energy types, different enemies, how they fight, see how the Iconians fare against you, how the Elachi do. More or less, it's your pre-ISA run. just to see, if everything's worked out correctly, you have your rotations the way you want them, before you dive headfirst into an ISA where you want to get a perfect parse. In the Foundry mission itself, you run into all sorts of enemies, everything from Federation, Klingon, Romulan, as well as the Zenkethi, Tholians, Iconians, basically everyone that you could fight that's on there. You could play it at any difficulty if you want the best results. I recommend playing it on advanced, but that's up to you. If you don't play on advanced as often, then play on normal. It's all good. Basically, it's just freeform. Feel free to test however you like. Everything's there to basically shoot at you, and you can shoot back. There you go. To get into the mission itself, the entry point is in sector space by K7, and that's basically it. If you do find anything that may be a bug with the mission or something that you think may be improved upon, feel free to drop a comment and in the review of the mission. But there you go. What do you think?
Sounds like a good mission. Sounds
Pretty
interesting.
good.
I'll have to go check it out.
Though he definitely threw me under the bus at the end of that mission. Just a little something
I do have
extra.
to let people know. This is a bit of a spoiler for the mission. I don't want people to freak out about it. A friend of mine did ask for seeing more giant fleet battles in story content and stuff like that, and I was like, well, it's not story content, but I can make you you versus a giant fleet and see how that goes. So the last map in this Foundry mission is you, and whatever difficulty you have, you can bring friends and whatnot, go against 25 ship groups. That doesn't mean 25 ships. That means like fighters, frigates, cruisers. You have different battleships in there, but they all go after you, and it's one big battle. Yes, it would be difficult, but the idea was just to see how far you go. If you feel like, also it was a bit of fun just to throw that in there. So feel free to see how you like it and whatnot.
Not gonna lie, he made me crap my pants just a little bit whenever that happened. Yeah, warp in, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna attack you now, and it's just like, crap!
I couldn't get the decloaking effect just the way I wanted, because I want you to get a little bit in there, like, alright, where's the enemy? And then just all these ships just decloak around you. I could never get that right, but it works.
All I saw was a giant cloud of orange come at me from all the phaser fire and everything. But yeah. Anyways, we will have all of this stuff in the notes for you guys and everything, so you can check out all of this stuff, but it's pretty much what we've got for this evening as far as the show goes. But on our way out this evening, be sure to check out our good friends over at the Temporal Armada. A very cool bunch of people. You will enjoy their entertainment, I guess I should say. But also be sure to check out our other good friends over at the Kurtang Pirate Radio. They are a very cool bunch of people. Always have some kind of good music playing, and the party is there. If you have any requests for budget builds, feel free to let us know. And everything, let us know, because as you can see, we do take requests. That's actually where the one from tonight came from. And everything, let us know, what type of ship you want. Let us know what you want to do with the ship. Do you want it to be a DPSer? Do you want it to be a tank? Do you want it to be, a space wizard? Do you want it to be somewhere in the middle? Or what you want to do with the ship? Let us know as well, what kind of budget you've got to work with. Do you have something more along the lines of a bare bones? Do you have a little bit more you can invest, such as a mid-range? Or do you have a high-end build that you want to do? Let us know, and we'll be sure to hook you up in that aspect. But also, if you feel that your ship and your gear are in order and it's just your piloting that needs a little bit of work, then feel free to take a brief little video clip and submit that to us on our website so we can see where you're at as far as your piloting goes, and so we can make recommendations from there. After all, we are the Pilot Review Show. That is one of the things that we like to help people with, is the ship itself and also positioning and all of that good stuff. But if you have requests for the Teacher's Corner, maybe there's a certain thing that you just don't entirely understand in the game, you need a little bit of help with, let TeacherKirby know, and she may just do a video over your particular request. If you've got bugs, like I said earlier, let me know. Let one of these screwballs know. We'll pass it along to the devs and everything so it can get patched. If you've got any topics as far as RP goes you'd like to hear about, maybe how to deal with a certain situation or a certain type of character or anything along those lines, let Artie know. He does take requests, everything as well. But anyways, that's our show for this evening. Thank you guys for joining us and everything. I know we started later than what we wanted to. You say we were hoping not to get blown to the land of Oz. Thankfully we didn't. Whatnot. But for now, folks, this is the Pilot Review Show, and we're warping on out of here.
Bye.
See ya.